Dear comrades and friends, please let me first greet you on behalf of the Tamililam supporters of Tamil Nadu. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity of a brief intervention in your deliberations. And I thank especially TGT and his Prime Minister, Comrade Rudra Kumar. It is time when we are marching towards March. Coming March, we expect something to happen at the United Nations Human Rights Council session. The High Commissioner is supposed to present a written report on the progress that Sri Lanka has made on its commitments given in the October 2015 resolution and the UNHRC's actions subsequent to the September 2015 OISL report. Recently, Chandrika Kumaratunga, who is one of the Troika, now ruling Sri Lanka, as a representative of the Sinhalese ruling classes. Chandrika Kumaratunga, in her capacity as the chairman of the National Unity and Reconciliation Committee, has gone on record saying no war crimes investigation is necessary. Even though Mangala Samaravira is speaking of getting some more time from the United Nations for honoring the Sri Lankan commitments, Chandrika is speaking about having a war crimes not now, never in the future. This is an important contradiction that we find. So Sri Lanka is not just playing for time. Its attempt is to avoid an international investigation or international inquiry, or at least a special tribunal with international participation for addressing the questions of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and what we allege, genocide. So they are not going to do anything. They want so-called reconciliation without ever accepting justice to the victims. They are not going to address the questions of accountability. We want remedial justice. The UN assures us of transitional justice. Whether it is transitional or remedial, justice needs reconciliation first of all. Without justice, there cannot be reconciliation. This is a lesson that we get from various historical instances from various parts of the world. It was so in South Africa. It was so in various other places. But now Sri Lanka is trying to impose what it calls reconciliation on the people. Chandrika says what we need now is a new constitution and the office on missing persons, not war crimes inquiry or investigation. What is the constitution going to offer us? Is it going to be a federation? The Tamil National Alliance has been harping on for so long a time. Is it going to be the end of unity rule? United Sri Lanka, if they want a united Sri Lanka, they should say goodbye to this unity system. In reality, not by words alone. They are ready to hold a referendum on a unitary constitution, a referendum where the Sinhalese and Tamils can vote. That means a constitution which determines the destiny of the Tamils is going to be voted by Sinhalese in effect, because taking Sri Lanka as a whole, they are in the majority and Tamils are in a pitiable minority. Only by considering the Sinhalese and Tamils as two separate nations, with separate homelands, with the right to self-determination, which applies to both, the problem can be solved. Even by the measures of devolution of powers, there is not going to be any sharing of power, equal sharing of power between the Sinhalese and Tamils as per the reports that have been given by the various task forces. In Colombo, it is going to be a central rule where the Sinhalese will be in domination. What about the states? There is not going to be a merger of the north and east as the homeland of Tamils. Not even as a state, not even as a Tamil province. North and east are going to be two provinces like the other provinces where the Sinhalese are in the majority or in a dominant position. So it is going to be an administrative rearrangement and is not going to be a devolution of powers or decentralization of powers. In this situation, if the Tamils are to be assured of transitional justice as the UN calls it, part of this transitional justice is non-recurrence of war crimes that have been alleged. For non-recurrence, the Tamils should have their own sovereignty, their own state, their own protection. The Chandrika assured constitution is not going to provide them with any of these. Not only that, the various task forces of the Sinhalese government has created as part of its assurance to the international community and the United Nations. One of the task forces is the consultation task force on reconciliation headed by Manuri Mutetwega. This task force headed by Manuri has in its 500-page report clearly recommended an international investigation, or at least an investigation or inquiry where the international participation is there. And this will go along with what Sri Lanka has assured the world through its co-sponsored resolution in October 2015. Chandrika is very angry with Manuri. She says, no, this task force cannot say so. We don't need an inquiry or investigation at all. I am pleasantly reminded that this Manuri is the widow of Comrade Sarath Mutetwega, the only communist parliament member in 1977 period, when Jayawardena CNP had a brute majority in the parliament. The time of the Thimphu talks, we Tamils unanimously, on behalf of all the liberation organizations, and also on behalf of the Tamil United Liberation Front, placed before the world, before the Sinhalese, before India, a 4-point principles. There were 4 cardinal principles. They were the basic minimum. It was Sarath Mutethuvegama who spoke in support of the Timpu principles in the Sri Lankan parliament itself. He told the mighty Jayawardena, please see, these are very just principles. These are the principles unanimously placed before us by the Tamils. If you accept them at least in principle, that can be a good basis for furthering the thoughts. If you are rejecting them outright in the beginning itself, there is no meaning in your proposal for talks, in your attempt for a negotiated settlement, etc. Don't speak about peace if you cannot accept Timpu. That was how Sarath approached the problem. Sarath is no more. He died of a tragic road accident in Colombo. Sarath's wife, Manuri Mutethuvegama, she is now heading a panel appointed by the Sinhalese government and has given a recommendation in favor of an international mechanism, or at least an international participatory judicial mechanism, which is a welcome step. And if the Sinhalese government is not going to this recommendation, going to accept or implement this recommendation, we can take this recommendation to the United Nations itself. So, friends, we are morally strong. We have the knowledge of strength with us. And with this strength, which is reflected in the TGTE endeavors to seek remedial justice, we advanced so much in this fight for justice, remedial justice. The 2015 September OISL report is a very strong weapon in our armor, and it has spoken of systemic crimes. They just stopped short of pronouncing the word genocide. But we are not far from such a judgment. The October resolution was forced upon the Sinhalese government in spite of all their attempt to dilute the content. They have created a trap of their own by assuring the world that they want a mechanism, judicial mechanism with international or at least Commonwealth participation. They have not implemented it in the intervening long period. They don't have any justification for failing to implement it. And now Chandrika is speaking of never implementing it, not just postponing it. She speaks of never implementing it. No inquiry, no investigation. So this is the question, and we have to try our best to seek our aim, that is the United Nations Human Rights Council, on the basis of Sri Lanka's failure to live by its commitments given to this August Assembly. They have to be, Sri Lanka has to be referred to the General Assembly. So let the problem go to the wider world instead of being just 40 or 47 members addressing this issue. The whole of UN General Assembly can consider this issue, and we also want a recommendation to the Security Council to refer this case to the International Criminal Court or set up a tribunal, a special tribunal, international tribunal, to try the crimes of genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity against Sri Lanka. And towards this end, TGT has established an independent monitoring accountability panel with very eminent lawyers, ex-judges, etc. They have done their work and they are about to submit their report. This report is going to give a lot of legal and moral strength to our effort. And while on the one side Sri Lanka is speaking of a new constitution, which Chandrika also harps upon, in place of an inquiry, she wants reconciliation without justice. We want reconciliation with justice, with real justice, with justice which punishes the culprits, a justice which gives remedy to the victims, a justice which guarantees the non-recurrence of such crimes. And this justice continues to be denied by the Sri Lankan government, by the Sinhalese establishment which Chandrika represents. And so we now place before the world that there is no democratic space in Sri Lanka to discuss about a new political dispensation. And that is a new constitution which is not unitary, which is federal in essence, as they want, as the Tamils there, the homeland want, the Tamil leadership insists on, and guarantees the right to self-determination of the Tamils, as the United Nations has assured the world through its charter, through its covenants, and through its resolution, etc. If Sri Lanka does not agree to it, this is only an exercise in futility, this new constitution. Like Tamils, we will have our own constitution. We have formed a technical committee for making the preparations. So we are going ahead. Friends, we stand by the TGT. It's our duty, Tamil national duty, it's our international duty for people to stand by the TGT in its efforts in this endeavor called MAP, in this endeavor for a new constitution, in the endeavor to oppose the 6th Amendment, to bring to justice the culprits, not only the military but also the political leadership of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan system itself, as once the world brought to justice the South African ruling classes, and is trying to do this for favor of Palestine, etc. And we have a duty before us, that is not only seeking justice for our Tamils, but also proving to the world that those who committed genocide cannot escape just like that. And they should be brought to book by all means. And the genocide of Tamils, that is the first genocide of this century, there should be no more genocides in this world. And we can guarantee this by our efforts at justice. And this is time to act, and we will act and stand by those who act. Thank you.